Hi everybody. For my informative speech, I chose to do how do food photographers make the food look so appetizing. I honestly chose this topic because I myself was curious on how they do, because I'm pretty sure a lot of us, we see commercials for food and then when we go and get the food it doesn't look how it does in the commercials, and I'm always hearing people say that, and I wanted to know what they did to make it look like that and why it doesn't look the same as it does on a commercial. So in doing research, I knew a little bit that they used props and different things to make the food look more appetizing, but I guess I just didn't know the extent that they did. Of course, with any photography, lighting is going to be a major key. And it says the food photography to always use natural light, same as regular photography. Natural light always just gives, I guess, the best presentation, as well as angles. So the angle of the food, if you do it from a too low of an angle, you might not, get the look that you're going for the food, or too high, you might not be able to see the definition of the food. So of course the lighting and the angles are going to be important for the food photography. But what I didn't know was the extent of what props they used in order to make the food look more presentable. Some of the things I read were that they would use cotton balls or even tampons. They would be hot and they would make steam. So they would keep that steam, they would hold it and release it. So they would use those to make the food steamy for as long as they need it to, because generally I guess it takes 10 hours in order to do a food photo shoot, which I did not know that it took that many hours just to do it, but apparently it does. As well as I seen that they use soy sauce for coffee when pouring the coffee and the creamer into it. They'll use like a watered down soy sauce. They said it just gives like a lighter presentation than the coffee when they're photographing it. As well as in like enchiladas, they'll use mashed potatoes to stuff the enchilada in order to make it look fuller. As well as they actually use some cosmetic sponges, so like some blending sponges inside of tacos to kind of keep it staying up, holding it up. As well as, let me think, there was a lot of different ones in there. They're very interesting. They also use for cereal. They either will use glue or they will use a hair product inside the cereal to make it so that the cereal won't get soggy. So they'll use that instead because it kind of maintains the cereal whenever they're shooting it. Let me think. As well as, they were so interesting to read. I had no idea that they went this extensive into it, or they went this far and they were this creative to even think to use things like this for. I would have never thought or even guessed that they were using things like that for the food. I guess once you learn that those are things that they're using for, it's not as appetizing, and I guess they kind of, they use those to make it look more appetizing. Which almost is like false advertising, because then when you get the food, it doesn't look quite like it does on the commercial, but we as consumers obviously still go and buy the product, so they're obviously doing something right. So my research for that, I learned a lot. I learned some interesting things that I wasn't aware of. I guess there's a lot more to food photography than I would have ever known if I hadn't done the research on it. I hope y'all learned a little something about how food photographers make the food look a little more appetizing, and the lighting and the angles, and as well as different props that they use in order to make the food look more appetizing. So I hope y'all enjoyed my video, and I hope y'all have a good night. Bye bye.